Okay, right, I'm going to show you, okay, how to draw item 2 or the base. Okay, item 1's on there. We've just drawn that and sketched it, so now I'm going to show you how to draw the base. Now, can you see, I really wanted to start in the bottom left hand corner, but that's a bit awkward because I'm going to draw it on this right hand side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this card round and I'm going to use the bottom left hand corner of the card as a datum edge for when I draw it. Okay, it's just going to make it easier to measure and to mark out from the left hand side. And like I did for item 1, okay, I'm just looking at these measurements across the 8, the 48 and the 52, and then I'll measure those and mark them out, and I'm going to draw those vertical lines from that left hand edge. Remember, you have to explain and write in as much detail as you can to explain how we go about measuring and marking this out and cutting it out eventually. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure the 8 from this edge. Okay, flip that round, remember, and using the other side, so just a little line for the 8. Then we've got 48, so I'm going to move that along. 46, 47, 48. Notice how I'm using the rule in this way. I can keep the opposite lines lined up, it keeps it nice and square as well. So that's 48, a little line there. I've got 52, so again I'll just move that along to 52 and just put that little line on like that. Okay, now remember, we've got that 60 width. Now you notice how we don't have that measurement there on that edge. Again, third angle orthographic projection. Okay, we're looking up and we're seeing the view from the bottom of this item 2. Okay, so I need to put that 60 on, and that's the end of the item 2. So I've got those lines on again. Okay, I'm going to draw those lines just very faintly across. Alright, okay, so there we go. I've got one there, I've got a 1 there, like so. Then I've got a 1 here, I've got a 1 here, and then I've got a 1 here as well. I'm trying to keep those lines nice and straight and square with one another. You can always use the drawing to scale, though it's printed out slightly smaller, so don't always rely on a drawing if it's drawn to scale, but you can use it as a bit of a guide. And I can see I've got my lines, my 8, I've got my I'm not sure what that line was, I've marked that one in by mistake, but it doesn't matter. Okay, I'd mark them in nice and faint. Okay, I've got a line down there. Okay, that's good. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark from the bottom, I'm going to mark the 18, 24.1, the 50 and the 55. So again, from the bottom, I'm going to do the 18. So like so, I'm just going to mark that little line on like that. Then I'm going to do 24.1, and then I'm going to do 50, just marking that on like that. Yeah, and then finally I've got the 55, I'm just going to mark that on. Okay, and then I'm going to mark those lines across, just nice and faint lines. Sometimes it's better to just get the closest edge when you draw them, so you can see it's parallel when you're drawing that across, and it keeps the lines nice and straight. So I'm marking that one across, and I'm doing that one across. Okay, yeah, and then I've got that one, mark that one across, and there's one more to do there. Now I'll turn this around, I'll use the edge that's closest to it, so I know I'm going to get that parallel line across like that. Okay, yeah, so I've got those edges. Again, you can hold it up against, you can see, yeah, you can see where those lines are like that. Alright, now, okay, so now I can see where I'm going to need to cut out that 8 there. Okay, which ends there. Alright, and I can see where the 52 one is. That's the end of there. So again, I know I'm going to have to cut that out because that's going to be a slot. So what I'll do is I'll just put it in over those faint lines like that. I'm just going to ball them in, and then I can see where I'm going to cut those lines out like that. And what you can do, yeah, you can add a bit of shading to show the bits that you're going to cut out, and you can do that around the shapes in general, so you know whereabouts you're going to cut, and you can identify the profile of each of the shapes, like so. Okay, so that's that so far, right? So as you can see, if I go 50 up, and that's up to here, this 50 line here, alright, now that's going to go as far as there, so I can draw a line coming off there like that, bold, but I'm just going to stop it short, because you can see how there's a 10mm radius there. Okay, yeah, so again I can grab my compass. Now I can't just mark that on, I need to identify where this how this 10mm radius is going to go on here. Yeah, if you imagine a square, the bottom right hand corner of the square is going to be the centre of where the compass is going to go. A 10mm square, a 10mm radius is going to be. Alright, so I need to measure 10mm down, okay, and just draw a little line across, like so, okay, and I'm going to 10mm in from the edge, okay, like so, and then a line down, okay, like so. Where those two lines meet, I know that's going to be the centre of where that radius is going to go. So I'm just going to pop the compass in like that, and then I'm going to, yeah, should just be able to, okay, just see if I can get that like that, and then you can put that arc in like that. Okay, another way you could do it, if the compass is a little bit tricky to use, again, just get the circle template. You can get your 10 radius, 10 diameter radius, yeah, so that's going to be 20 diameter. Okay, so I need to look for 20 on the gauge, and 20 is here, so I can hold that onto there like that. Alright, and then I can pop that, yeah, and I can get that radius on like that. Yeah, remember you're cutting it out, it's a rough guide, you've got to be careful when you come to cutting it out. So that's where we are so far. Now I've got that 118 degree angle to put on there. That's going to come off there. That is at 48mm. But as you can see, if I use the protractor, it's going to be really quite tricky to do. So what I did, okay, is I cut a little template out to give us that 118 degrees on this side. Again, you can see 180 degrees. So 180 degrees on a straight line, so I just need to measure 62 degrees. Again, I can just trim that off, and I've got a nice template there I can use. I'll just hold that like that, just keeping that the bottom nice and straight, that edge. Yeah, so you can use that to draw. Okay, like that. I'll slide that along, and I've got a nice, yeah, there we go. I can mark that angle on there, 62 degrees, 180 degrees on the opposite side there. And then again, all I need to do is I just need to draw that line in there like that. Okay, and then I'm going to draw this line down, all the way down, 60 wide. Okay, so if you have a look, yeah, you've got, and I'm going to cut round the edge, so I'm just going to mark it like this, like so, and then you can see, okay, I could even, yeah, these are all the bits that are going to come out, so I'm going to use the hole punches for these ones, okay, and I'm going to use a craft knife to go around the profile, very carefully, okay, using the safety rule, okay, and then I turn it around and I've got item 2 there. Again, I'm just going to use the knife to cut the features out using the safety rule. Okay, there you go then.